Jesus preached 2,000 years ago in a world greatly different from our own. How do his words apply to us today at the cusp of the third millennium? To best answer this question, let's first briefly review a history of Christianity. It is a challenge for us today to appreciate what everyday life was like in biblical times. To eat, you gathered, farmed, or fished for it, either you personally or a family member or a close neighbor. Need a little something to wear? You wove it. Kitchen utensils? Made from sticks, clay, or other found objects. In fact, virtually anything you possessed was a product either you or someone you knew made. Life was lived out in nearby streets, in close proximity with your neighbors, who of course you knew intimately. You were, however, essentially ignorant of science, technology, and the outside world, at least by any modern standard. Life could be nasty, brutish, and short. Dreadful diseases, famines, and wars abounded. To live to be 35 might be considered a ripe old age. This was not a life to which most of us today can easily relate. Prior to Christ, the Old Testament was the law. Biblical history was usually communicated orally, often in allegories and parables. To cite but one example, here we show Moses at the time of the Exodus, parting the Red Sea. Another instance, the Bible sometimes depicted God interacting directly with man, here as author of the Ten Commandments. The history of our church since Christ is a dramatic one. In turn, Islam, the Eastern Orthodox churches, Protestants, and finally the Anglicans, all sundered away. Today, the church looks to third world countries for its growth. We arrive at the present. What was once our tight-knit local community is now gone global. Our food, indeed nearly everything we consume or possess, is grown, caught, or made for us by persons unknown to us, sometimes on the far side of the globe. We can communicate with nearly everyone on our burgeoning planet, our planet lifeboat, whose population has grown from 200 million in biblical times to 6 billion today, with 11.5 billion projected for 2050. 2 millenniums ago, people risked quick death from disease, famine, or war. Today, add to those threats such civilization-ending hazards as pollution, nuclear disasters, soaring population, unsustainable consumption, and global warming. And what will we find in addition to these in tomorrow's newspaper? We come to the crux of our presentation. What did Jesus preach 2,000 years ago? Here we must condense. However, love thy neighbor and the golden rule would be at the top of anyone's list. In the Beatitudes, from the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus counseled that true happiness comes from a resolve we arrive at from within, and not from materialism or accumulating possessions. He also advised us that we should all be good stewards of the land that feeds us, shelters us, and provides for us. Finally, love the Lord with all your heart was Jesus' commendation to his listeners. How does love thy neighbor and the golden rule apply to us today? True, the impersonality of urban living today means we do not know our close neighbors as intimately as we did in Jesus' time. However, one only need look at worldwide relief response to earthquakes in Haiti, tsunamis in Asia, and bushfires in Australia to appreciate the love for one's fellow man wells up strong in the human breast. How many of us have discovered for ourselves that acquiring material possessions has not brought us the happiness that we anticipated? Here we cite the novelist Tolstoy, who said, "The words of Jesus suffice." Late in life, the acclaimed novelist dwelled like a peasant among his former serfs, without comforts, good clothes, hygiene, or fine food. Taking a leaf from the Russian Count, many have discovered the underlying truths of Christ's Beatitudes. We have finally realized, if belatedly, the truth in being good stewards of Mother Earth. There may be cosmic justice at work here. The same technology that is causing problems like global warming may end up providing the solutions. Finally, we come to consider Jesus' admonition to love the Lord. The Spirit within us that brings us to love of the Lord is the same Spirit that guides us to consider our fellow man and Mother Earth above our own selfish interests. In sum, Yes, we should all work to reduce our carbon footprint, but simultaneously, we should consider following in the footsteps of a man from an earlier age, footprints first found in the sands of Galilee 2,000 years ago.